Okay, let's dive right in. If you're a founder, you've probably spent countless hours on your deck, your numbers, your product. But what if I told you the single most powerful part of your entire raise isn't any of that? It's your story. And frankly, so many founders get this part wrong. So today, we're going to break down exactly what the founder narrative is and how to build one that truly hooks early investors.
And this, right here, is the absolute heart of it. We're not talking about the polished resume version of you. We're talking about the real story. You have to remember, early-stage investing is often a gut-level decision. And that gut feeling, it comes from the clarity and the conviction you project. An investor is betting on your ability to figure things out when everything goes sideways. And that bet starts with the story you tell them.
So what exactly is a founder narrative? Well, think of it as the invisible thread that connects who you are, what you're building, and why you're building it right now. And this is so important. It's a signal, not a script. This isn't about a performance or memorizing the perfect lines. It's about showing this undeniable, authentic alignment that makes an investor stop analyzing your deck and start imagining how they can help you win.
To get there, we're going to walk through 4 key pillars. First, we'll find your core story. Then, we'll talk about how to prove it with action. After that, we'll cover how to create both urgency and a compelling vision. And finally, we'll wrap up with how to deliver all of this with just unshakable conviction.
Okay, first up, finding your core story. This is the absolute foundation for everything else, and it really just boils down to one simple but incredibly powerful question.
This is the first, most fundamental question an investor wants answered. Not just why you're smart or why you're a hard worker, but why are you the one person on the planet who sees this specific opportunity with such incredible clarity? What unique vantage point do you have that no one else does? Answering this is how you earn an investor's attention, not just ask for it.
And I love how this slide breaks it down. There's a huge difference between credentials and context. Credentials are nice, sure, but they're not the story. An Ivy League degree? That's a credential. But spending 5 years deep in the trenches, dealing with a broken process you're now fixing? That's context. A big exit is a credential, but being so personally obsessed with a problem that you literally can't sleep at night thinking about it? That's context. And context is what makes your connection to this startup feel real and believable.
And that's the whole point, right? When your story is built on that kind of context, your startup doesn't feel like some random career pivot or a shot in the dark. It feels inevitable. It feels like every single thing you've done has led you to this exact moment. And that feeling of continuity, it's incredibly compelling.
So where does that feeling of inevitability come from? It comes from your unique insight. What is the one truth you see that everyone else seems to be missing? Maybe you saw it because you spent years hacking together solutions with duct tape. Or maybe you uncovered some fundamental flaw in how things are done today. Whatever it is, the key is to show how that specific hard-won insight is literally baked into the DNA of your product.
Now, for our second pillar. A great story is one thing, but you have to back it up. So this section is all about turning your narrative from just a claim into a proven reality. It's all about showing, not just telling.
Founders love to talk about traction. But here's the thing, not all traction is created equal. Most of it is just noise, random numbers that don't really tell a story. What you need is aligned traction. These are the specific proof points that directly validate your core story. So if your whole narrative is that engineers hate a certain workflow, then showing that 6 senior engineers have switched to your tool and refused to go back is an incredibly powerful signal. It's not about the biggest number, it's always about the right one.
This quote is so critical because it shifts the whole focus from the past to the future. Yeah, your progress is great, but early investors know things will go wrong. They aren't betting on your perfect plan, they're really betting on your ability to learn, adapt, and react when things inevitably break. So, and this might sound a little counterintuitive, don't be afraid to talk about what went wrong. In fact, you should lean right into it, describing how you handled a setback, like a key customer churning or a big experiment that failed. It builds so much more trust than a perfect, polished story ever could. It shows you're not just executing a plan, you're learning. You're building with your eyes wide open, and that gives an investor real confidence.
All right, on to section 3. You've established your core story, you've shown some proof, now you need to place that story in time. This is all about answering 2 really critical questions. Why now, and what's next?
This is the question that creates tension and urgency. A really great narrative makes an investor feel like they're looking at a window of opportunity that's about to close. If this problem has been around for years, why hasn't anyone solved it before? What has changed in the world to make your solution not just possible, but absolutely necessary right at this very moment? And that change shouldn't be some vague, mysterious thing.
It needs to be a concrete catalyst. Maybe there's been a huge shift in user behavior, or a sudden drop in component costs. Maybe a new regulation just opened up an entire industry. Pinpointing this catalyst shows you're not just building in a vacuum, you're building with a deep awareness of the powerful market forces at play.
So the crucial goal here is to connect the market's timing to your own. It's what I call double alignment. It's not just that the world is finally ready for this solution, it's that you are finally ready to build it. Maybe the tools you needed just became available, or your own experience has just reached that critical point. This double alignment is what turns a good pitch into a conviction check for an investor.
Now let's talk about the vision part. Please avoid the trap of only talking about some massive, abstract 10-year goal. Investors need to see the big picture, but they also need it to feel tangible. So talk about what will be true in 6 to 12 months. What will your users actually be able to do then that they can't do today? This proves you can think big while staying grounded in real-world execution. And that brings us to our final section. And honestly, this might be the most important one of all. You can have the perfect story, the proof, the timing, but if it's not delivered with real, genuine conviction, the whole thing just falls flat. This is all about the human element. At this early stage, investors are backing founders they feel something for. That emotional pull comes from how true your narrative feels. Don't be afraid to share the human side of the journey, the frustration that sparked the idea, the early struggles. When you share those details, you earn something way more valuable than an investor's attention. You earn their belief.
And that belief is built through your authentic voice. Look, investors see hundreds of polished, safe pitches that all blur together. The ones they remember are the ones that sound like a real person. Your tone, your phrasing, it should all sound like you. And that voice needs to be consistent everywhere, from your first email to your final call, because that consistency is what builds trust. And always remember, your actions are telling a story in parallel to your words. How fast you move, how focused you are, how quickly you follow up with thoughtful answers. These things are the most honest part of your entire pitch. They are a live demonstration of your character. And when your execution aligns with your narrative, your credibility just skyrockets.
I absolutely love this quote because it reframes the entire interaction. You're not there asking for a handout. You are building something real, something smart, and something that's already in motion. Your message should feel like a calm, confident invitation to join that journey. It shifts the whole dynamic from a pitch to a potential partnership.
So we'll leave you with this final thought. After the slides are put away and the call is over, what story did your actions just tell? Is it a story of clarity, focus, and unstoppable momentum? Because ultimately, the narrative you live out through your actions is the one that investors will remember most.